The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm CW Getz. It's Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. We had a beautiful 40-degree sunny, 40-degree Fahrenheit. I should clarify that. Sunny day today. It was just beautiful outside. In fact, everyone was commenting. We're just so glad it's not below zero. But actually, one of my guests here tonight, I'm going to ask him about that. He's doing some camera work tomorrow, and they're worried about the cameras freezing, and it's like almost 40 below. So, and that kind of transfers Celsius to Fahrenheit there, I guess, at that temperature. But hey, before we do that, before we introduce our guest here, I want to say, I got my COVID booster shot, the Johnson & Johnson booster shot today. And I got to tell you, I'm one of those people that have been known to pass out once he gets a shot. I just have this fear of needles. It's crazy. But Julie, the nurse over at LaSalle County, Illinois Health Department, thank you so much for not making me pass out today. I've had some really bad shots in my life. So hers didn't, I barely even felt the thing. So thank you, Julie. And then Jane, another nurse over there, and then Dr. Manigold. So I want to thank you guys for that. Also, Skip, I want to say hi to Skip and Orla from Scotland who tune into our show. They actually don't always get it live, but they catch us via the recordings. And they were saying it was 10 degrees Celsius. 50 degrees Fahrenheit over there from the coast of Scotland. So I want to say hi to them. Thank you for watching. And Mustang 774, thank you for viewing from the UK. Appreciate that. Just saw him up on the screen. Well, tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier, by Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water, and by Novacraft Canoe, connecting with nature since 1970. Tonight's episode is tasty recipes for winter camping with my special guests, Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride. Kevin Callan, a.k.a. The Happy Camper, is the author of 18 books. He's an award-winning writer and a keynote speaker at outdoor events across North America and is also a regular guest on several television morning shows and CBC radio. Kevin has several film awards to his credit and writes a column for Paddling Magazine and Explore Magazine. He was listed as one of the top 100 modern-day explorers by the Canadian Geographical Society and was made patron paddler for Paddle Canada. Kevin Ride, with his popular YouTube channel, Kevin Outdoors, 50-year-old Canadian forester, author, and adventurer Kevin Ride has been camping and canoe tripping his entire life. Kevin holds a master's degree in forestry and in 2010 was named Ontario's Forester of the Year. His book, Backcountry Eats, which focuses solely on dehydrating meals for backcountry camping, was recently published in June of 2021. And with that, welcome to the show, fellas. Kevin and Kevin, the Kevin brothers.
We're a couple of Kevins.
I love it. Hey, how's your weather up there, eh?
It's cold.
Yeah.
It's crazy cold, actually. I don't mind the cold. In fact, I'd love to have a proper winter, to be quite honest.
What's this 40 degrees below zero?
Minus 27 and minus 38 in the next couple of days. So,
my gosh, man, that
weather has passed us and it's getting warmer now. So only minus 10 today.
What? Wow. Way up where you are, north of Lake Superior?
Last couple days, the last couple days that were really cold. We had minus 35 at night.
Because minus 10, that's like a Nipigon summer.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I don't know what that
very few bugs,
but it sounds warmer than negative 40 or negative 38 or whatever it was you said. So yeah. Hey, is the camera equipment going to work tomorrow, Kevin?
I don't think so.
I can't just say Kevin. I should say Kevin C or Kevin R.
No, I'm going out with the film crew, and the camera guy is bringing a cold tent. I'm bringing my hot tent. because of COVID, like, sorry, he's not sleeping with me.
Yeah.
So I said, good luck
What,
to
you
you,
got a
man.
problem with that or what?
Well, even if there was no COVID, he's not sleeping with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I have my scruples.
You're funny that way. Well, I understand. So maybe they'll have to use your phone like they did last time, the last film shoot that.
Yeah, yesterday it was really interesting too because I was on a Global News film shoot, and there was the big camera that I don't think anybody ever uses anymore, and then they had the other cameras, and it was only minus 21 Celsius, which is really not that cold, eh, Kevin? Like, but
Yeah.
everything shut down, and they had to finish the whole shoot with my phone that was
Isn't
in
that
my
funny?
pocket.
Wow.
And the only reason it worked is because it was in my pocket.
Oh, you kept it warm.
Yeah,
Maybe they should have put those cameras in their pockets or something like that too.
I tell you.
Yeah. No, that's cool. You saved the day. So good for you. Good for you. I think they should have paid you extra for that. But hey, maybe, that's your manager's job.
Well, I'll ask Kevin Ride this question too. So we're out doing a snowshoe thing. So I had traditional snowshoes, like a Ojibwe style, maybe close to bear paw style, and they had the aluminum New Age style. And which would you say is better in deep snow?
The bigger one, the first one, the Ojibwe style.
If
If the snow is deep and fluffy, you want a very big snowshoe. The new modern snowshoes, I think, are really good for trails and that kind of thing. But yeah,
which makes
it
perfect
felt so good yesterday to be old because I had these old fashioned snowshoes, and someone said, "Where'd you pick those up at some garage sale?" I was like, "Well, no, they were made by a First Nation person for me."
Oh yeah,
when I was in the far north,
authentic,
and we went off trail. As soon as we went off trail, poof. Yeah, the host just sunk like a rock into the snow with her really, really fancy aluminum snowshoes. And I was
the
like,
high tech. Yeah, right. And interesting you bring that up because you and I talked earlier, I think maybe last week, about doing a snowshoe episode. So I think that's I think that'll be fun. I still haven't heard back from the guest that we talked about, but hey, we will put that together. I think that would be a great episode. Something different, something unique. Well, hey, let's jump right in here. Other than cost, what are the advantages of creating your own meals for winter adventuring over purchasing them? Other than cost, what are the advantages?
Well, I think if for winter, dehydrating food is great. Anytime you can dehydrate food, you're reducing the weight of that food, usually by up to 80%. Most foods, some have more, but most foods are about 80% water. So when you dehydrate them, you really make them lighter. And if you're talking winter camping, they're not going to freeze because they're not full of water. So, eggs and things like that freeze. If you have powdered versions of those things, they'll be much better off. Also, you get to tailor your meal the way you like it. Like if you have something that you don't like or a sensitivity, you can adjust your meal. And the other one I think is portion size. You can bring exactly how much you want. A lot of those meals are either too big or too small for some people. So lots of advantages to dehydrating your own food at home.
Kevin, you mentioned something I kind of forgot all about. When I dehydrate, I make meals for 1, 2, and 4 people. Most of the time it's just 1 and 2, but there are certain meals that I make for 4 people. Do you do very much the same?
Very much. I'll usually make a big batch of a meal, and I'll just put that whole batch in the freezer and keep it there in a big Ziploc bag. And then before I go on a trip, I'll weigh out how much I want. So I've sort of figured out. When I was younger, I ate about 150 gram meal. So the meal, no matter what it's made of, you tend to eat about the same dry weight. So I used to be 150 grams. Now I'm 125. My wife is about 110. So that's a good, 100 to 150 is for what most people will eat.
Right. Now you don't portion things ahead of time. So now I do it ahead of time, but I like what you just suggested. So you're doing bulk, and I'm assuming you freeze this or you vacuum, because I vacuum seal everything, but I vacuum portions. You just do the whole bulk thing and then portion it when you're getting ready to go on trip, right?
Exactly. That's what I like to do. There's different ways to do it. Some people dehydrate the whole meal all by themselves, or they'll dehydrate individual ingredients. I used to do both. I've spent time doing both. When you do individual ingredients, you end up with a freezer full or shelves full or jars full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to manage it. And you start, where's my onions? Where's my mushrooms? And so that works. That's a great method. It's actually really, really good because the food is dehydrated optimally. Every ingredient dehydrates at a different rate and a different temperature. So you can really dial in on what you want and get best quality, but you don't have a very efficient storage system. So it's really nice. I like to do a bit of a hybrid system. I'll put the meal together, except the meat. I'll dehydrate that, and then I'll dehydrate the meat separately because the meat should have a higher temperature and it generally dehydrates a little bit quicker. And then I'll combine it just before I go on a trip.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, for those who've never dehydrated their own meals, what type of equipment is required and what's involved with the assembling those one pot meal recipes? I mean, we're talking, portion size of vegetable, portion size of meat, and each goes into one. But then also, like I said, the equipment. What do you need?
Well, I have a dehydrator. I think it's called Coffee Time or something like that I got at Sears when Sears was open.
Mhm.
And I got a dehydrator that I use, but also you can use your oven. You don't have to buy like an $80-$100 dehydrator if you're only going to do like 1 or 2 trips a year.
Mhm.
So you get a cookie sheet, you get parsnip paper, put that on the cookie sheet, put your zucchini, put your sauces like your curries, your spaghetti sauce on that, and then you put your oven on the lowest temperature possible. I think it was 110 mine goes to. And then I put a little toothpick to open the door a bit to get it circulating throughout the night. And I go to bed at like 11 and I get up at 6:30 in the morning, and most likely it's done. If not, I have to redo it a little bit longer. So that's a cheaper way to get, but if you're going to do this a lot, do a dehydrator. And I do what Kevin does too, like in the summer and the winter. So for example, I've got a whole bunch of multiple winter trips coming up, right? Starting tomorrow. So I've got bins. So I've got my zucchini, my peppers, my mushrooms, my sauces, all in these white bins that I've all. So today I worked all day. So I came home. I went, I'm going somewhere tomorrow. My life is a mess. I gotta change my life. And so I literally had like no time to pack, but I literally packed my entire gear and my food in less than a half hour because I have these bins all set up, right?
You're organized. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually not, but for that sort of trip planning, I am. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to something you mentioned, and I'm assuming now my oven has what they call convection settings. So there's a fan in there to keep it. What you were speaking of is an oven that doesn't have that convection feature. So you put a toothpick where? Explain that. What you do again?
Yeah, if you have a gas stove, it's a good idea to just open the door a bit to circulate the air throughout the night. That's just a good idea. The only disadvantage of that, to be quite honest, whether it's electric oven or gas oven, is you're using electricity more so than buying a dehydrator. So really, you might want to just boost up to buying a dehydrator.
Yeah,
do you
think it's kind of where it's almost like, hey, I'm going to use this much power or gas or whatever. I should just, hey, you know what, and take the money, invest it once, and then you got the
yeah. And really do your research, because some of those dehydrators don't have a good fan system, and you'll have them for a year and they'll break down.
Oh, wow.
Others, the one I bought in the 90s, I still use. Right, so
you mentioned something. You might, okay. So I'll just ask the question as I've written it here. Are there some items? Are there certain items that are best purchased rather than being dehydrated at home yourself?
Yeah, I'll let Kevin answer this one, but I gotta say one thing I will never ever. More than a couple things actually. Onions, I will never ever do in my house again. Never.
Oh, wow.
I will buy dehydrated onions. Your house will stink for a year.
Oh wow!
You'll peel the onion smell off your wall. Okay?
Wow.
Pineapple. It looks terrible. It looks disgusting when you do it in your house.
I've never done pineapple. Does it turn brown or something, or what is that? What happens with it?
Well, it's a different system that they use at the bulk food store to dehydrate pineapple, but it's better.
Is it like freeze dried or dehydrated though?
Dehydrated. I think Kevin, am I right by saying that they I dehydrate them, but they freeze dry them, right?
They probably freeze dry it. Yeah,
that's what
it's probably freeze dried. I know the bananas you get in those stores, banana chips, people really like them, and they try to get that consistency at home, and they can't because those. I've learned the chips are deep fried actually.
Oh wow!
So But I like my pineapple, Kevin. I'll have to send you some.
Really? No. And my banana chips, they look like little mini turds. Like I'm not doing it
Oh
here.
wow.
Yeah, I'm going to the bulk food store.
You know, it's funny. And talking about that, what is it called? Fruit Fresh or something. It's the powdery stuff. But you can do the same thing with like lemon juice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to think of the name of the stuff that we use, but it's a powder. Kevin, help me out there. What is the name of that stuff?
I've got some in my shelf. I can't remember the name. True Bright or True Flavor or something like that.
Yeah, it's not the one I'm speaking of, but it's probably the same thing.
Okay.
Is it cocaine?
Yeah, that's it. No. Right, straight from Peru. No, it actually keeps things like bananas and other things from turning brown, and apples and all that.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Fruit Fresh or something. I can't remember the name.
Well, you can use vinegar. Vinegar helps.
Vinegar,
with that
that's
too.
the other.
Yeah.
Vinegar or lemon juice works.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
lemon juice
pineapple
works
juice
better.
works too.
Hey, there you go, Kevin. Use juice from pineapples.
And you know the greatest thing I dehydrate is lime for my whiskey.
Oh, wow.
So I'll dehydrate a bunch of lime, and then I'll make a whole bunch in the spring, and they'll last me the entire year. I have a bin of them.
Okay, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I'll put a little bit of dehydrated lime in my whiskey, and I feel civilized.
That's cool. I like that. I've not heard of that. Lime in the whiskey too. I've never even had that, so I may have to try that. We're talking bourbon, not scotch.
Whatever. We're camping. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I love it. We got to go camping, cowboy. Kevin Ride, in your book, you use some slightly different methods of dehydrating certain foods than what is typically done. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, well, I think I may have jumped my answer a little bit early there. I really like a hybrid method of separating your meal from the meat. I think that works really, really well. Some people just dehydrate a meal they cook, but you have to be careful of the fat. When you dehydrate a meal, you want to remove the water and you want to remove the fat. So you don't want to add much fat. So back to your question about what ingredients do you buy instead of dehydrate yourself? Anything with fat. So eggs have a lot of fat. So I buy the egg crystals. I buy powdered milk. I buy freeze-dried cheese. And people say it's expensive, but I've got a bag of freeze-dried mozzarella. It's lasted me 5 years already because you just need a little bit. It's shrunk down. You just need a little bit to add to a meal to really change the meal.
Kevin, you mentioned egg crystals, and I'll tell you something. I almost hate all of them that I've tried. There is one brand that I have, and I'm trying to recall the brand, and I can't right off the bat. What is your favorite brand? What are we looking at here? Let's see that again.
This is Ova Easy. That's my favorite brand.
Might be the one I like. Yeah. I think that's it.
There's other makers, but it's the crystals. The fact that they've been they remove the it says right on it. They remove the glucose and they freeze dry them, so they're crystals. They're not the traditional egg powder. Okay. Yeah. And they are awesome. I have chickens. I've got a dozen chickens. We have fresh eggs all the time. And when I go camping, I bring these. A lot of folks dehydrate eggs at home, but it's really not safe because it's got fat and it can go rancid. Eggs also have a chance of salmonella. So this, it's one thing getting sick. It's another thing getting sick in the backcountry. So invest, these are not cheap, but it really, really changes your meal.
Been there, done that, only with water in my case. Alan Bierhoff, just about the time you said you held that up, easy. So thanks for chiming in there. That's interesting. The key thing, Kevin, is since Kevin Wright, since you just mentioned this, the key thing is removal of fat because that's the part that goes rancid, right? Yeah. And I think people need to know that first off, but. It seems like a number of camping meal cookbooks focus on recipes based on rice and pasta dishes and soups and stews. Kevin Ride, I'm going to direct this to you again. It seems like your meals, that is, are very diverse and almost lean toward gourmet style. And while the term gourmet, you bet. While the term gourmet implies complexity, that's not actually the case at all, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think a meal doesn't have to be very complex to be good. I shy away from the term gourmet because I'm not a chef, but I think the meals in my book are simple and they taste really good. I think we all start, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, we all start with making pasta and sauce and dehydrating that maybe out of a can, or maybe we cook the pasta and dehydrate the sauce at home. We start with some sort of, you know, if you show up beside those folks and rehydrate some lasagna, they're going to be like, what is this? What is this witchcraft you've got here? And it's really not that hard. If you can run a dehydrator, or run your stove, you can make dehydrated meals, and you can take some family favorites. You know, lasagna is not a gourmet meal. It's made by grandmothers around the world. So but it really changes your experience when you have a really good, wholesome meal that, you know, it's fun to push your limits when you're camping a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
The two things in my life that changed my cooking, one was when I was a guide. I mean, they're paying you good money, and food was really important. And we're out for 10 days in Temagami, and I had to carry most of the stuff. So I had to make sure those meals were darn good, but also lightweight. And it wasn't just, you know, mac and cheese, right? I mean, if they're paying money to be with you, they're not eating mac and cheese. And I made it a big deal. Like, I made them hors d'oeuvres, and so they would eat their hors d'oeuvres and have their wine or whatever under the tarp when it was raining out. And then I would go make the main meal. You know, I'd bake a fancy dessert on the fire, and it was all to do with show. Like, wow, this is cool. I'm loving the wilderness. I'm not hating the wilderness. I'm not eating gruel. This is fantastic. Yeah. And the other is my buddies. My buddies and I, for many, many years, would have a contest. So we would split up in groups and in cooking groups, every 2 or 4 people. And the first night we would have a camp cook-off, and we would bring like lobster, steak, whatever, because it was the first night, right? Oh, yeah. And whoever made the best meal won a prize. Whoever made the worst meal did the dishes. But it was the last night that was the greatest thing. So if we did like a 7-day trip, our last night was always like dehydrated shepherd's pie, dehydrated curry. And whoever actually won the leftover bourbon.
Oh, wow.
Very good.
Good prize.
Yeah. So, but what taught me with all that was it all had to do with the experience. You weren't out there just surviving, you were thriving. And that made a big difference making meals. Yeah. But dehydration makes a huge difference when you're carrying the load, especially for 10 days.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. What is it? Was it Nesmuk? I didn't come here to rough it. I came here to smooth it. Wasn't that his quote? Mr. Nesmuk. That's Nesmuk. Hey, we're going to acknowledge a couple of people here, and then we're going to take a break. Say hi here. I'm going to be okay. Camper 69, thanks for chiming in. Mustang 774, Alan Bierhoff. Mustang 774. Oh, hey, correction. I thought he was in the UK. He is in Newfoundland, Canada. So I apologize for that error.
That's a lovely place.
It is a lovely place. From the pictures I've seen, I've not visited there though. Camper 69. I'm still hoping to get there to photograph some waterfalls. Cold. Oh, it says not cold. It was 2 degrees Celsius today. Bushman 613. Good day, everyone. We had the snowshoes. Camper 69. My show snood up. Let me say that in English. Snowshoes are the old-fashioned wood ones. So, Kirk Whipper, Voyager Center. Hello, all. You got this. And I think, flavor is number 1 for me, Alan Bierhoff. Here, Dan Faust had a question. Do you ever no-cook meals? What would your favorite no-cook or quick and easy meal be? And then we'll go back and answer that, but great recipes in this book. Kevin, I love watching Tim Foley cook for KC. And Quest, good evening, Yell. Donald Kelly, good evening. And there we go. So let's go back to that. What do you ever do no-cook meals? What would your favorite no-cook or quick and easy meal be? And then we'll take a break.
I haven't experimented with that a lot. I know some people do cold soaking. I think if, my cold go-to would be salsa or hummus or things like that. Great for a snack.
Yeah, I do the same. When I did a big trip in Quetico, I every kind of brunch was that powdered hummus and quinoa and all that other stuff. You just soak, and you eat up with crackers and cheese and meat.
Oh, wow.
It's fantastic. For lunch, I never cook a lunch. It's always a cold lunch.
I mean, okay, so there's no hot water involved, or there is hot water involved. It's just cold water. You soak cold.
Yeah.
Cold milk. Interesting. All right. Well, don't go away. We're going to be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground Views virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground Views virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guests, Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride here on the Camping Show. During the break, Kevin Callan, I just got Christine Redmond said, "Hey, I like the show." And so, yeah, that's all good.
She's watching the show?
She sends her love. I don't know. She actually just liked the, what do you call it, post that we do, the promo post. So, yeah.
I figure that at this point in the relationship, she's like, "I don't even know what you're doing anymore, Kevin." I mean, when we first started dating, she was like, "Wow, you're on a podcast.
Yeah.
This is amazing." And now she's like, "Whatever."
Sounds like you're married almost, right? Do you know how it goes? I'm joking, kids. Yeah, I'm going to get mail there. Okay, and by the way, thanks for chiming in. KeelQuest, Kevin's book is great. And there was another one, Apple wrap. What was that? Ham and cheese on a wrap and peanut butter and apple on a wrap. So thanks for chiming in, guys. That's cool. Hey, let's talk about recipes. Let's have each of you share a few of your favorites. Explain what's in them and what's involved to prepare them at camp. Let's start with Kevin Callan, since we've been neglecting him a little.
Yeah, I'll show or I'll talk about a few, but Kevin Ride, like, I mean, man, you should check his book out. Like, there's amazing recipes in that book. So, if we're talking about winter camping or a long trip, I keep it simple to the traditional. Like, cornbread is amazing. Okay. Pea soup is amazing. Bannock, absolutely love it. Well, maybe sometimes after a full summer or winter of having it, I don't want to see it again, but it's better than nothing. Christmas cake, like, that's amazing. I got the
fruit cake you talked about.
I love it. I love it.
Right.
Yeah. Logan bread. Has anybody ever made Logan bread?
You know, I've heard of that. I've never made that. I've not even tasted it, but I've heard of it.
Well, it's all those things that are not going to go bad, right? It's almost like a Christmas cake. It was made in the 1950s when these guys went up to Mount Logan. Tack. Have you ever had tack before? Yep. It's like eating a shoe, but it's really good. Yeah. And so all those things. And if I'm going to make a meal, like winter camping, for example, like my next trip, I think I showed this before to you, but it's a Dutch oven, but it's cast aluminum, so it's lighter. So I put parsnip paper there. So I'll make a stew, a shepherd's pie, a veggie shepherd's pie. I'll make a curry. I'll make a ham. I'll make little Cornish hens in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But let's get to Kevin Ride, because he just put a video out of baking a chicken beside his stove.
Let's do that question before we do that. Roxy, can you put that for me? I'm going to be here. Yeah, can you see the question?
Oh.
What kind of rum do you add to your bannock?
Well, actually, Jamaican rum. But you have to put the rum. When you're making bannock, two really important things. When you're making the bannock, the second flip, or actually the last flip you do, you put a bit of rum on it, and that will brown it.
Mm-hmm.
And the really important thing, and that will add a difference. It doesn't matter if you actually like alcohol or not, because you're burning the alcohol off anyway, right? It adds a lot of flavor by putting the rum in it. But also, never cut bannock with a knife. It's a sin. Like, bad things will happen to you. Bad mojo. And it's true. No, it's true.
Right,
I'm not making this up. You gotta
tear it,
break it with your hand,
right?
And that's how you eat bannock.
Alan says the Woody's oven is great. Mustang 774 Logan bread is on my to-do list. Kevin, I had fruitcake on a hike today. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, Kevin Ride. How about you? Your favorite recipes and what's see what's in them and what's involved to prepare them.
I think one of the simplest ones that I started with was I just call it beef and rice. It's in the book, but it's something that one of the first ones that I tried to figure out. So it's rice and some ground beef that's been dehydrated, and a bit of spinach, some tomatoes, some onions, and that was kind of where I started with one pot dehydrated meals. Some of my really popular ones are butter chicken, especially in the UK. My viewers in the UK love butter chicken, and it's really good. It's just chicken breasts that I pressure. Yeah, I pressure cook them and dehydrate them. Some chili powder, some minced ginger, some minced garlic, a little bit of olive oil, some onions, some garam masala, some canned pureed tomatoes, and some cashews. And I just dehydrate the chicken, mix the sauce together, dehydrate the sauce, put the sauce in a blender, and then dehydrate it. And everything rehydrates either as one or two pots, depending on how you like it.
You know, that you brought up something interesting here. And we're gonna need to move along here, but I'm gonna ask you this real quick. You pressure cook your chicken. I've not done that. I've only baked it and then dehydrated it. But do you notice a difference? I mean, because we're dehydrating, do you notice a difference when you first pressure cook the chicken and then dehydrate it, as opposed to just baking and then rehydrating?
Yeah, when you pressure cook a chicken, it something happens to the fibers. They get more relaxed, and they both dehydrate and and they rehydrate a lot better too. If you don't have a pressure cooker, use canned chicken. Yeah, canned chicken goes through the same process. When chicken gets canned, it gets heated up to make it shelf stable, and it's basically pressure cooking inside the can. So
that's interesting. Yeah,
chicken is one of those ingredients that's. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say chicken is one of those ingredients that sometimes doesn't rehydrate very well.
Yeah, right.
You might as well bring cat food. It looks the same.
Alan Bierhoff, if you cut bannock bread or bannock, you will find out if Sasquatch is real. Love it. That's great. That's what you just said, Kevin Callan, that is. How much cookware? Let's do this one quickly. How much cookware is required to make meals like the ones we're discussing here today? What we left off with Kevin Ride, Kevin Callan. What kind of cookware to make the recipes that you just mentioned of your favorites?
The same that you would bring with the store-bought stuff, whatever. But the main thing is there's a couple of things I would do. If you're bringing beans, like black beans, kidney beans, whatever, you gotta put them in a Ziploc bag in the morning, or a plastic container that doesn't leak, or whatever, or even an Nalgene container, one of the small ones, and put it in your packs through the day and let those beans soak in the water all day. So when you get to camp, it's only going to take you 20 minutes to cook the beans. If you don't, you're talking 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
To cook those beans, right? The other is to reconstitute those veggies. So if you got zucchini, onions, red peppers, or whatever, put that in a container when you get to camp for about a half hour, an hour. I would put it a half hour into warm water and then start cooking with them. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, temperature does make a difference, and you found the same. Yeah, when you're rehydrating. Yeah. Kevin Ride. What kind of cookware do we need when we're cooking your recipe, your favorites there, which you mentioned?
Yeah, most of the recipes in my book can be done with just one pot because that's easy, and that's what most hikers do. I do tend to play around with reflector ovens and bannock and that kind of thing. So when I bake, one of the things when you're baking on a trip is that, at home you're going to bake in a big 9x13 pan and you're going to have leftovers for the week. Well, that can be tough to deal with. So what I often do is I order small little aluminum baking pans from specialty bake stores. It's not hard to find on the internet, and I apportion my recipe right down to like a third. So if it's just me and my wife going on a trip, we'll bake a third of a cake recipe or a third of a bread recipe or something, and then we don't have a ton of leftovers for the rest of the week, right? We're it's hard to pack that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we lost your audio there. Can you repeat the last part, what you just said, Kevin? We lost your audio.
Oh, I was just saying that sometimes when you're on a trip, it's hard to package that stuff back up if you have a cake or a pie or, I don't know, something more complex.
Yeah, interesting.
The dollar store is great. Like I get the dollar store containers with parsnips paper, and I'll bake banana bread or zucchini loaf, whatever, in my reflector oven with those, and I just reuse them all the time.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to come back. We're going to look at some photos, but right now we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutobaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
Campmore in Paramus is open, and we're fully stocked with everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Stop in for safe in-store shopping or buy online with curbside pickup. Check campmore.com for our latest hours. Campmore, for over 40 years, your outdoor recreation store.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guests, Callan and Kevin Ride here on the Camping Show. Roxy, could we have you put the photos of these gentlemen up here, and we'll have them tell us a little bit about each of them. All right.
Ooh.
Fire
okay,
away.
That's making true camp coffee. So I'll do it quick for you. So the real coffee is grounds in the water, right? So you put the pot on for a boil, and then you put coffee grounds in the boiled water, and you take it off the boil. Don't put it on the boil. Don't do that. Take it off the boil, let it settle for a bit. If you put it back on and it reboils, then tannic acids are released from coffee flavors 3 degrees above boiling point, but the flavors are released 3 degrees below boiling point. So you just want to let it sit there, right? And then when you let it sit there, then you have to get the grounds to the bottom. So there's a couple of ways to do that. But the fancy way, when I got it, I would swirl it around my head. Like centrifugal force would push the grounds below the boiling water, and people were like, "Oh, he knows what he's doing." But really, it doesn't work all that well. So what I would do when they weren't looking, I would tap it on the side with my knife, and that would work better.
Okay.
And then what I would do is I would find the person on the trip that I really didn't like, but I didn't really want to tell them I didn't like. And the grounds are kind of floating on the top. So I'd give him the first cup, and he'd always think that I'd liked him for the whole trip because I'm giving the first cup. And then I would give him the last cup of coffee because that's where the grounds really are.
Yeah, right,
right.
He's
giving me the first cup and the last cup. He really likes me. And that's
you're evil. You're an evil man. I've also heard when you put an egg in the coffee, that actually absorbs the grounds or whatever. You've heard that, but the only problem is the egg makes the coffee taste like egg coffee. So
yeah, well, eggshells would work, pebbles will work, but really banging it on the side with your knife is the best. Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, interesting. What have we got here?
That's shepherd's pie at minus 30. That's Tim Foley. He's an amazing cook. Man, if you want to go on a trip with him, you'll eat.
Chef Boyardee.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So, but there's a thing about that. So either you cook separately or you cook together, and that's the big debate, right? Whether you cook as a big group or a small group, all depends, right?
Yeah. We've got more pictures here. There we go.
Oh, bacon.
Yeah.
When winter camping, you need the fat. And, if you're vegetarian, then substitute whatever, but you need that high energy. So bacon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. What are we looking at here?
That's mine. That's a reflector oven pushed up against a stove in a hot tent.
I've not seen that done. That's interesting.
Yeah, and inside is the chicken that I'm roasting, and maybe the next picture will be that chicken.
I've not seen that done with a wood burner like that. Yeah, that's interesting, but that does work.
Yeah, it worked. It worked very well. I was pretty happy with how that turned out.
And for those listeners that can't see, that don't have the luxury of the visual here, what Kevin did is had a reflector oven sitting right up next to, of course, the open side, next to the wood burner. Instead of, you'd use that at a campfire, the heat's coming off the campfire. In this case, it's coming off the wood burner. So, because, people that listen to the
right against the side of the oven, and the next picture shows the chicken roasted. It worked.
That's so cool. Wow.
Oh, Kevin, I should have married you when I had the chance.
Hey, how long does it take to cook chicken if you do that reflector on a wood burner?
That was my first time doing it. It took about 90 minutes. I started with the oven, the stove a little bit cold. So you have to get it going, get it nice and hot. So it's a bit of trial and error. That's a new stove and a new tent for me. I have experienced cold camping, but not hot tenting. So I got a brand new system and I'm testing it out.
Oh, sounds good. All right. What do we got next? Here we go.
So this is going to become an omelet. This is winter omelet. So that's the powdered eggs, and I bring a small whisk and whisk them up in a bowl. I think the next picture shows me adding some cheese to that omelet, cooking on a fire with an anodized aluminum pan. We talked last time about fires not being great, but there's a pretty respectable omelet with a little bit of hot sauce on it. Not as nice as the omelets I make at home, but still pretty good.
I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but the crystals take a little bit longer to rehydrate than does the powder. You noticed that?
Yeah. I let them sit a little bit, give them a good stir with that whisk. I find they work very, very well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And this is just a picture of some steak and veggies, and this is the grill. I have a Purcell trench grill. I think this is the Voyageurs model, and I'll take 2 pieces of wood, and cut some big rounds and not split them. And those will be my supports. And I'll make a little stick fire underneath. And then after my meal is done, I'll roll those bigger logs in for some more heat and some entertainment.
Yeah.
And there's the steak, cooked the way I like it. And in the background, you can see I've got a stove as well. Sometimes it's nice to bring a stove along on a trip, even if you're cooking on fire.
Yeah. You mentioned those Purcell grills. I own several of them. They're wonderful. I love those. They're the perfect size and everything. And I created this apparatus to accommodate, I think up to maybe 4 or 5 of those things for bigger groups. But yeah, I love those. And they're super light. They're like tubular stainless steel, which makes them super light.
Yeah, very, very light. Great for canoe trips.
Yeah.
Excellent.
They really are. Hey, let's have each of you fellas tell us a little bit about the books that you've each written this year. Kevin Ride, let's go ahead and start with you.
Sure. This is the book we've been talking about, Backcountry Eats. Came out in June. The first 100 pages are all about how to dehydrate, different ingredients, what to look for in a dehydrator, what kind of kitchen gear you need, as we talked about. I got a section on store-bought stuff as well to supplement your meals. And the last part of the book is 100 pages of recipes. So it's getting great reviews. People seem to enjoy it. And if you like to eat and like to camp, it's a good book.
Yeah, very cool. Kevin Callan, tell us about your book.
Kevin Ride's book is fantastic. I did a review for Explorer magazine on it and read it through and gave it to my friends and family. And they're like, "You know this guy?" Yes. It was really good. A couple of
Rockstar.
a few years back, I wrote this one, Trailside Cookbook, and it's just a bunch of recipes. I also have like the Happy Camper Wilderness Pleasure book. They have recipes in it as well. But this one, so this came out. This came out a few years back, a couple years back, and then it got done as a second edition, and they added 30 pages of baking in the bush and a bunch of recipes in it as well for winter camping. Yeah. So
fantastic book, by the way.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I don't fool around. I think I actually eat better out in the woods than I do at home, to be quite honest.
Oh yeah, right. Because I mean, you probably have a little bit more time in the woods because you're not going there hustle bustle like you are every day, at home. I'm assuming, right?
That's true. That's true. I'm a very busy man, but out there, I'm sort of zen-like.
I love it. Kevin Ride, and Kevin Callan, thank you for sending me a copy of your book. Like I said, fantastic book. Kevin Ride, if you could send me one, I would, and maybe scratch your autograph.
Yeah,
that'd be
I'll
wonderful.
be doing that. Yeah,
I'd like to read that. Yeah. So, well, let's ask you both, where can our viewers and listeners go to purchase the books that each of you have written and to follow both of you on social media? Kevin Callan, let's go with you first.
YouTube is KC Happy Camper on YouTube, kevincallan.com on website. To buy a book, you can buy them everywhere, Amazon, whatever, but I would do your local store if you could. Tim Foley at Kinney Outdoor Equipment, he goes winter camping with me. He's actually a far better cook than I am. He should write a book. And if you're going to buy a book, buy it off him because I know where the money's going. He's a good guy. So
yeah, that's cool. Very cool. By the way, I'm going to tell you, Skip and Orland, I just mentioned, they are waiting on Kevin Callan's new winter camping book in order. So apparently they've ordered it and they're waiting for it. So that's cool.
Oh, the crazy thing is selling really well. That's winter camping.
Scotland. How do you say Scotland?
They're in Scotland. No, it'll take a year to get there. They have to go in one of those. What are those roundabout boats that they?
I do not know.
What are they called, Kevin? What are they called?
The conch. The conch. Conch
yes.
or conch. Or
something. They have to go across the ocean and deliver the By the way, I'm going to Scotland in the fall for the Open Water Symposium. I'm going on a canoe trip with Ray Goodwin, Paul Curley, and Justine from Cackle TV again. We're doing another Spey River adventure. I got to pinch myself. I'm going to go down this river and do whiskey chats along the way.
Very good. Very good. Hey, we talked about I may be going with you. Yeah. And I hope that happens, Kevin. All right, Kevin Ride, we got about a minute, well, less than a minute left now. So where can we get your books and follow you on social media?
Sure. Social media, you can follow me at Kevin Outdoors on YouTube. You can find my book almost everywhere except bookstores yet. I'm trying to get it into a few bookstores, but you can find it on Amazon or other places, or go to backcountry-eats.com and you'll find links to it there.
It's fantastic. Well, all right. Well, listen, thank you both for being my guest here on the Camping Show. It was a pleasure having each of you here this evening with me. So thank you.
Great. It was a huge honor to be on with Kevin again. He knows his stuff, and he looks really good in a beard.
I love it. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I'm waiting for your beard, Kevin. Yeah,
thanks for having me, guys.
He lives in the north. I can't judge. I live down in the south. He lives in the north. I can't compare at all.
I started this during COVID.
Yeah, it's the COVID beard. So, hey, I would like to thank our sponsors here, Campground Views, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, and NovaCraft Canoe for bringing you tonight's show. Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, Nutrition for Adventuring, with our special guest, Aleka Hyatt. Until then, thank you for tuning into the Camping Show. This is C.W. Getz reminding you, learn more, do more. See you next week.